I'll burn the pancakes and probably the house too, but baby, it's stuck to me like glue.
So this girl was pretty cool. My cousin and her had GoPros, so they were sharing footage, and we went out 2 at a time. And man, I talked to that woman for a long time, and it's really cool to talk to a therapist when you're not asking for advice. You know, you're not treating her like, hey, you work at Disneyland, give me a free Disneyland ticket. It wasn't like I was like, oh, tell me how I could deal with all these things. But it is cool talking to a therapist as they are outside of their job and seeing what that life looks like for them. And she ended up leaving her sunglasses behind on the boat. And I was like, all right, I got a Google Drive email from her from all these shared photos. Like, I'm going to hit her up and be like, hey, you want these really fucked up glasses? Like, I'll come see you in San Diego. Let's hang out. She did tell me, like, hey, if you ever want to come over, we'll go, what'd she say? Snorkeling with the leopard sharks. And I was like, damn, okay, why not? So it is nice when you get some opportunities. And, you know, at that point, it's up to me to be like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to go on a weekend to San Diego. You know, when you have that opportunity, it's a lesson that I've learned for myself. If you've got the opportunity, go and go while you can. So I got to hit her up when I'm not working 12 hours, when I'm finished unpacked, when I'm not worried about hosting my Airbnb guests this weekend and somehow managing to do it all. I'm going to hit her up and be like, hey, sorry for the reply. You sent this like a million years ago, like a couple days ago. Like I'm just now seeing it. But she was cool. Shout out to her. I think at first I was a little nervous. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but men typically get a little softer around women. Women get a little bit softer around men. At least that's been in my experience. So I was like laughing in my head that my cousins were like gravitating towards this girl and hitting her up. And I was just kind of living my life on the sidelines. Then I was like, Evelyn, get out of your skin. Not all women are terrifying. She's probably your kind of vibe. And so I loosened up and I talked to her. And then pretty much she and I were talking the entire time on the way back. But she recommended a really good book for me to read. We talked about a little bit of psychology and life travels, and her family sounds like super fucking dope. And yeah, it was cool to get to experience somebody, a complete stranger. Like I learned this in Uber and Lyft a lot too, to be able to see and experience somebody else as a stranger and get just as much fulfillment out of that. And yeah, I mean, I had no idea who she was, and you know, had an incredible time. So after that, let's see, what did we do? Was it the next day? So at this point, we were checking into our second hotel, which was the Westin. We went up from like 3.5 to 4 stars, and we stayed at this very fancy resort. And my cousins were like obsessed. You know, they liked the slide. They liked the atmosphere. And I don't want to say it's this point. I mentioned this in a previous episode of my bio. But there's only one other time I've been to the Westin. It was the only time I'd ever been in another like fancy place like that. When I was 13 years old, my friend's older brother, did something he shouldn't have done underneath some covers of a Westin property in Palm Springs when I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13. And I went to this Westin all these years later, and I was like, Evelyn, it's not the same and it doesn't matter. And it's right, it's not the same and it doesn't matter. But it still gave me this kind of like ick vibe. And it's funny, it really does depend on preferences, but to me, this place was pretentious. It's like, look at all the things we have. We don't need to be kind to you. We can have an attitude with you. We don't really care about service or hospitality because look where you are, bitch. Everything's fancy. Everything's nice. We're right on the ocean. Like, go. And that was kind of the vibe for me. It was like, I thought to myself, my cousin kept saying, Evelyn, you'd be surprised how much these places cost. So we did the math. That place was around $400 a night, which I still think is way more I would ever spend on a hotel. But in the States, you could easily double that. I mean, it was easily like $1,000 resort. And just to give you some perspective, I went to go have a vacation cigarette and I didn't buy a lighter because I wasn't trying to chain smoke. I just wanted like, one cigarette a day kind of thing. I went to the front desk. I was like, hey, can I borrow a light? And they're like, well, even though there are smoking areas, this is a non-smoking facility, so no. And I was like, okay. So then I asked them, like, housekeepers. They didn't have lighters. Then I went back to the lobby and they said, you can try the restaurant. I went to the restaurant and they're like, you could try the bar. And the bar's like, no, you could try the lobby. And I was like, damn, like, none of you bitches have a lighter. Like, not even for smoking, but just nobody has fire. And to me, if you're spending $400 a night somewhere or even double it because of the type of atmosphere it was, say you're paying $800 a night, and people in hospitality, I mean, I worked in hospitality, I would never do this. What do you mean you're going to send me on a wild goose chase to look for a light? You're not going to find a light for me. You're not going to find somebody. You're not going to ask someone. And so I said, fuck this shit. I'm just going to go out of the resort, go down to what looked like the Vegas Strip, and I know some fucking person somewhere's got a light. And I made it down to the security booth, and I was like, hola, like, fuego? Sí, yeah. And he pulls out his lighter, and I was like, you are heaven. And so I just hung out with the security guard in the security booth and had my little cigarette and went back up. And it was just funny to me. Like, I guess that's how I could describe the vibe. And I'll explain a little bit more what that means with the next place I went to. But I really, I'm not a Westin girl. I'm just going to say that, like, to each their own. Like, I get it. It was aesthetically pleasing and your Instagram pictures would have been beautiful. To me, this vibe was like these friends and families and people that spent every last penny to go to this place, and damn it, they were going to have fun no matter what. Don't you stop them from having fun. Get out of my way kind of attitude. But just like anywhere you go, there were moments of beauty and moments that I appreciated. Like, I went up to my hotel room because the boys, I don't remember why we separated. They were doing something. At this point, I had definitely gotten, like, sick. I really don't remember why they were separating. They went to go do something completely separate. I can't remember why. And so I had a couple hours where I could, like, rest and sleep and have the hotel room to myself, which I didn't mind. I didn't end up resting. I didn't end up sleeping. I spent a 2.5-hour bubble bath in the jacuzzi tub in the room. And to me, that was resting in heaven. And I kept thinking, Evelyn, you could go to bed right now. Don't you want to get some rest? You're very tired. And I'm like, no, for the girl that doesn't take more than 10-minute showers or 15-minute baths, I found a tub that I appreciate. And I'm going to open up all the windows and I'm going to pour me some tequila, even though I'm sick and I probably should just be hydrating, and I'm just going to enjoy this tub. And I did not get out for 2.5 hours. It was kind of amazing. Overfilled the the tub up with bubbles, and it was so nice. Anyways, so I did that, and the last place we stayed at, absolutely just, I was mentally crying the entire time. I walk in to my first ever 5-star resort, and the people were elegant. They were kind. They were polite. They were well-mannered. They were on it Every little thing, there was someone there looking over your shoulder to make sure they could assist you in any way. And you walk in, and the music that they're playing, it was like a spa resort, I guess. And the music they were playing made me want to cry. It like it pulled on my literal heartstrings. And it was this peaceful, serene music. And there were these gorgeous Victorian murals all over the walls. It was presumably a Polish resort. It was called, I kept it in my car, Kempinski Hotel. Kempinski, I can't say it. But look it up. Well, I literally can't say it without looking at it. Kempinski. Kempi. And I'm driving SKI. Just look it up. Oh my God. I literally ran up to my cousin and I hugged him and I said, I kept picturing Beverly Hills. And I kept thinking, these are places that people like me, people like us, hardworking class, maybe you're on a corporate card and maybe you're flashing your corporate card and that's how you get to go into these places. For people like me, no, you don't get to just walk into a 5-star resort and actually stay there. And it wasn't the status that was so important to me. I told my cousins, I said, yeah, I look all disheveled. I'm not showered yet. I said, wow, we get free coffee at this place. I said, I probably need to look a certain way just to get outside of the hotel room. I should look fancy and not look all disheveled for these rich folk. And then I had a thought and I said, no, Evelyn, these people don't care, in my opinion. These people don't care what you look like. They care how you act. They care how you behave. And when I thought about a place that would cost well over $1,000 a night in America, and I'm in this incredibly bougie, top-notch service kind of place, I was in tears because I was I get to be around class and elegance. And honestly, for me, it was more politeness and chivalry. And to me, that's not dead. And to me, that is way more important. I'm an old school gal. And to me, you can provide good customer service and great hospitality without being fake. And maybe if you don't like hospitality and you don't like people and you don't like serving or accommodating people, maybe don't be in those industries. Because at the West End, it's yeah, we don't have a light. Go find one. Good luck. Go hang out with the palm trees and take your Instagram photo because you're here for the looks. The 5-star place was hey, we're just here. Let us know if you need us. We are here to accommodate you. Please enjoy your stay. And it was just a completely different vibe. But I will say this place was drop dead gorgeous. And it's funny, my cousins were yeah, no, we cared more about the last place. And I was no, I'm in hog heaven. I could stay here forever. As an example, on the last day that we were at this place, we had some pretty amazing perks that I don't think all the other residents there got because my cousin traded some electrical work from his friend and they gave us the timeshare. So apparently it was some executive woman who worked at Chevron and had Chevron money. This was her timeshare, just to give you some perspective of where I was. Gasoline money is what you could call this place. So I get there, it's 11:30. We're leaving for the airport around noon. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm really confused. Why are there all these wine bottles next to the complimentary breakfast buffet? Why are these here just out in the open? They're oh, well, from noon to 3, we have a complimentary happy hour. I was you have a complimentary happy hour and it's 30 minutes from when I'm leaving and you're just giving out free Malbec? Yes. I'm man, that sucks for me. I said, that would be so great. And I don't remember if I asked because I think she took the asking out because that's the kind of place this was. But essentially what went down was either I asked or she offered, and she's like, no, here, and let me get somebody to help you. And so somebody comes out of this like closet and pours me some Malbec, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I used to work for the Embassy Suites, right? And in American culture, oh, you're here 30 minutes early to your happy hour, bitch. Well, sorry. Come back in 30 minutes. Oh, you can't because you're getting on a plane. Well, that sucks. Maybe next time when you're in Cancun and spending a fortune here, you can take advantage. Sorry. It's almost like people really just thrive off of giving you shit. And here, they bent the rules for me a little bit. And they're like, yeah, okay, well, she's leaving in 30 minutes. Like, let's give her a glass of Malbec. And that is the 5-star way. And it's funny how my cousins and I saw it differently. They're like, oh yeah, well, you got money, so you pay the price, and I don't want to have to tip everywhere that I go. Da, 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 da. And it's funny because me, I was like, nah, like, yeah, like cash out all your 5s and 1s. But then it's funny because I felt bad. I was like, well, anyone getting a tip here is getting a $20 bill or a $100 bill, and we're giving 1s and 5s. But I'm sure there are plenty of millionaires out there that don't tip at all. So anyways, I felt bad in that regard because it's like the money wasn't there. And, you did have to tip everywhere you went, but I wanted to because I was so grateful for like the service that I received. It's a different vibe if you think about it. And I think that's what I wanted so badly out of a 5-star service was when you reach that type of clientele, when you get the better jobs, when you get the higher paying jobs, you're not doing the grunt work anymore. You start to see clientele change. You start to see your bosses change a little bit, and you don't have to deal with so much bullshit. I noticed that a lot when I was like in my late 20s and I was getting out of these like shitty jobs. And I was like, wow, when you kind of push through, you might have a little bit more stress in your job. You might be spending a little bit more hours at work, but you're not dealing with so much bullshit. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not. But it's funny. It was a total contrast between those two atmospheres. And my cousins were like, yeah, I'd much rather go to that other place. And I'm like, man, that's cool. Leave me here with the elegance and the class and the politeness and people just being kind. The hospitality at the Westin was like, I'm putting this face on, and yes, let me know how I can accommodate you. And my eyes are really big, and I'm tearing my insides up inside just to like try to be nice to you and put on a face. And then at the Kempinski, it was just like lower tones, like, okay, like whatever. Anyways, they probably did want to make fun of me because I told my cousins, I said, because I'm kind of crazy about how I take my coffee. All I want is fucking cream or milk, man. It's not that hard. But everywhere I went, everything was powder. And I don't want to put powder in my coffee, right? And so they went around calling me like the crazy milk girl because I called and I was like, I told my cousins, I was like, there's no way a 5-star resort's going to give you powder. Where's that coffee? You're going to give me 24-hour coffee whenever I want, like wonderful espresso. Like I found out like more recently, or I guess it was heightened, that coffee does calm me down. It like regulates me. And so if I'm antsy or whatever, like instead of drinking a mojito, just have a cup of coffee. So I can have 10 cups of coffee and I'm just like, ooh, it's like sipping on some tea for me. And so I was like, this is a 5-star, which means I'm going to get leche. I'm going to get leche. And then I go to the coffee and they have these beautiful cups and these little plates that you put on the cups and this beautiful selection of tea and this machine that will pour me any kind of coffee I dared to dream of. And then there was powdered cream. And I was like, wow, well, everybody's got their flaw. I'm like, I'm staying at a 5-star resort, but you guys got powdered cream. So you know what? We are all not perfect, are we? But it is funny. If I had to say anything, it's like, yo, I'm staying in a place that gives you, 5-star everything and complimentary this and that, but they draw the line at crema. So the last thing that we ended up doing right before that was we went to Chichén Itzá, and I'm going to actually end the trip right on Chichén Itzá because, man, I could talk about this for days, and we'll have to talk in the podcast about this. And I'm just going to do the highlights because this episode is long, and I'll just tell you, like, basically my cousin said that I needed to create a shirt, and the shirt was I lost my mind / I had an existential crisis in Chichén Itzá, and on the back the shirt's going to say, and all I got was this t-shirt. And that is because I noticed something about myself that was very predominant. And if I didn't know it already, somewhere along the lines within the last 5 years, I guess a way for me to deal with trauma, deal with divorce, deal with, the rapes and the trafficking in our political system and all of this, I had to question everything. I had to find a new meaning of life. I had to figure out why anything matters in the first place. And so my cousin said when we were at the cenotes, he's like, Evelyn, you're like a 3-year-old. A 3-year-old will ask, why is the sky blue? And you'll tell them, and then you'll still respond with, but why? And yes, it's true. It's not that I like to question everything to be defiant. I just think nobody really knows anything. And when I was at Chichén Itzá and we were looking at these pyramids, they were making these comments like, oh, the Mayans might have done this for historical reasons or for religious reasons. But yeah, technically we don't know. And also the people that invaded them, the Spaniards, well, according to the Spaniards and the people that took over and ruined their lives, they said that this is how they lived and walked and talked and did all these things. And I was like, wait, so I'm reading a plaque that says that the people that invaded this area said that they were like this. Like, what? What do you mean? Like, you're writing your own history book at that point. And so I think I was just tripped out the whole time that here we are trying to study the Mayans, trying to study ancient history. Sure, you have archaeologists and you have researchers and you have these people that spend their whole life mission trying to study these things. But I'm reading a little tiny plaque that says this may or may not could have happened. And then you got my cousin who's on ChatGPT, and he was being really cute about it. He was pretending to be our free tour guide, and he was reading what ChatGPT said about all of these different plaques. And I just thought it was funny. I'm like, actually, I didn't think it was funny at the time. It's funny in hindsight how seriously I took it. But the vibe I got was more than, I would say, 200 years, and I think even that's pushing it. Life and history is a game of telephone. Everything is hearsay. You don't know the people that are in executive power. You don't know what's happening in these giant corporations. It's not like their company policies are private or public information for all of us to see and hear and know. And I just found it kind of interesting that we're reading about history and about religions and how they came up with like math and science and everything, but we don't know. We can give approximates. We could say, this is our educated guess. It could have been this and that. And I couldn't get over the fact that we are trusting these plaques that some random person said, yes, to my knowledge, this is how things went down. And now we're going to make it so that people all over the world believing and listening to this. And I'm not trying to be a skeptic. I'm sure a lot of these educated guesses are as close as the guesses that we're going to get to how they lived their life. But it really was also a reminder to me that no one really knows anything. You can rewrite history books. You can retell a story. And I think it was just like kind of crazy to me that I just felt like, I was like, what's real, what actually happened. So there's like these pyramids. There's like a pyramid inside of the Mayan pyramids. So there's like a smaller pyramid and a bigger pyramid. And it was like, I guess from, I can't pronounce it. You're going to have to double check it. It's like the Oryx, the Olix, the Olok, something, whatever. I really should know this before putting it out there. You can look it up. There was a civilization that was older than the Mayans, slightly less sophisticated, supposedly, that made that pyramid, and they essentially came first. Nobody wanted to talk about that civilization. I was like, I don't get it. So you're telling me that there were people here that built pyramids, smaller pyramids, before the Mayans, and then they just kind of disappeared and nobody talked about them, and then the Mayans became super fucking popular, and then the Mayans put their pyramid over the other pyramid and it was bigger? I was like, well, to me, it just sounds like you guys fucking wiped them out and then you took on their knowledge and power and you guys got the credit and became super famous. Whether or not that's actually true or not, that's just how my brain operates. And the funny thing is, we don't know. You could say you found some bones and some pottery, but like, come on, you guys. Come on. You only know so much what is in your control and what is in your reality and what the information that you have now. To be honest, I freak out about school these days because I'm like, I mean, I guess you could have said it in hindsight too. Just because you cite a book in the back of a book does not mean that all the information is real. In fact, I remember being in elementary school thinking, okay, well, I can cite this. I can cite it, and it could be an article from Harvard or it could be an article from Google, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's like, you know, the facts. There's educated guesses, and based off the prestige of the article or the place that you got it from is probably the likely of, you know, whether or not you'll believe them. But I'm just going on a rampage right now. Hopefully this makes sense. I'm freaking delirious, like driving in the middle of nowhere, and it's hot and I'm sick, so don't mind me. Also, my cousins made fun of me because there were these street vendors that said, I personally handmade this. You're paying a little bit more because I made it myself. It was a lot of time that went into it. Blah, 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 blah. I looked at him. I wanted to support his hand painted work. I thought that the item was cool. I got 3 of them for my friends. I paid more than I wanted to for it. And then as I was walking, 10 more people were selling the same things. And if I had just gotten out of my little bubble and kept walking, I would have saw that everybody had these same little noise maker Jaguars that I had. And so I will admit, most of the time there, I was very upset that this guy deceived me and that he lied to me to make a buck. And this is nothing new. This is not an American thing. This is not a Mexico thing. This is just a human being, you trying to survive and trying to manipulate a situation thing. And my cousin was like, are you really going to go back and talk to that guy? I said, yeah. I am. Like, I don't normally do this, but like, I think it's disrespectful. I would have paid for it anyways if he was being like kind. But I'm like, yeah, if he said, oh, this just came from China and I didn't make it and everybody else has these, would I have been inclined to buy it? Probably not. So to that degree, like, I see the point. But my cousin said, Evelyn, you trying to explain morals and ethics to this street vendor is like going to a shark and trying to explain vegetarianism to him. And I was like, damn, you're kind of right. But I went up to this guy and I said, in my culture, who I am, I think it's very disrespectful that you tried to overcharge me for something. You said that you made this. You said that you hand painted it, that those were your fingerprints. And I believed you because I was listening to you, and I bought this because of the craftsmanship that you put into it. But also, fun fact, you didn't at all. And so I told him, I said, look, I didn't want to pay more than this. I said, now I know how much money you're making off of this. Like, I get it. You want to make a buck. That's totally fine. But don't take advantage of the situation. I didn't want this. I didn't need this. This is how much you charged me. And it's just funny because the other guys was, he literally looked at me like, I don't know what morals and ethics and values are. And I'm having this space alien person from another country try to tell me what's up. Needless to say, I was just in a place where I realized a lot of things about myself while I was traveling, and not who I used to be, but who I am now. And I guess you could say after, just years of being on this planet, it's just so weird. I expected myself to be the same person my whole life because my family kind of did. Like, even as a kid, they were kind of older to me. But I would say from my family's perspective, from the time they were maybe like 40 and then 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s to 90s, they all kind of stayed the same. And they all kind of like, I mean, I don't mean to make it sound like a bad thing, but I've read too many self-development books about how, you can't stop growing and you can't plateau. And I guess to those points too, it helped me in a time and a place in my life to where I had to be okay detaching, and I had to learn loss and grief when I felt like I couldn't handle it beforehand. Wow. I don't know if it's like the fact that it's 95 degrees in my car, the fact that I don't have AC in my car right now. I'm slightly dehydrated. I never had my coffee this morning. I'm doing a 12-hour shift when I'm very sick, and I'm talking to you, so I'm so sorry. Please bear with me. I think I was just reminded at Chichén Itzá that you don't know what's up. Other people live different kind of lives. To kind of get out of your own bubble a little bit, because there's no right and wrong way of doing anything. And maybe that's a concept that people are starting to figure out a little bit more now. But I don't know. I think it's funny. We could probably scratch everything I just said. I'm like a little tripped out right now. In conclusion, I thought I was going to go and experience these things for the first time. And what I found out about myself was, actually, I just wanted to spend some quality time with my family. I wanted to get away. I wanted to not be in a car driving. I wanted to not be working. I wanted to be just living life. And it's the little things. I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to do dishes. I didn't have any responsibilities. I could go. I could swipe my credit card. I could just like walk through my life and live a little bit. And that really was the important part for me, I think. I just really wanted to share some memories with my family, and I really did have a wonderful time. It was beautiful. I did stay in a lot of touristy areas, though, and I think maybe if I wasn't in the touristy areas, it wouldn't have been, like, did I go to Tulum and Cancun and Chichén Itzá, and did I not know what I was getting myself into? And is it the equivalent of walking on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, and you see the walk of stars, and you see all the homeless people, and you see all the street vendors, and you see the haggling, you see the honks and the yelling? Was it just that? Was it just the equivalent of that? So maybe I was asking too much. I was asking for more of like authentic people and having conversations from people around the world. And I did do little moments of that. I will admit that. But overall, I learned for myself, like, I don't need to immediately go see and do the next thing, because I don't know. This sounds really weird to say, but like, just give me my cat, give me my condo, give me my loved ones, give me some good food, and I'm fucking fine. I'm not antsy and anxious to go out and do and see all these things. I would really love to go to Switzerland. I would really love to go to Turkey. But like, I could go in 20 years. I can go in 5 years. I could go tomorrow. Like, it really doesn't matter. I think I just really appreciate the relationships that I build with people. And I think that is more important. That human connection is more important than, I got to go chase down these shoes. And my friend really wants this souvenir. And the guys at work kind of gave me grief. They're like, wait, you just came back from Mexico and you didn't bring us cigarettes? And I was like, fuck. They're pretty big clients of ours. They're like the reason why we all have jobs, and they're upset because I did not buy them cigarettes. And I was like, fuck, I should have thought of that. But it's funny because like the guy I'm dating last night, he's like, did you even buy anything for yourself? He's like, this is all stuff for other people. And I was like, well, to be honest, I get more enjoyment out of other people, like, who can't travel, who don't go around a lot. I would much prefer them to be able to have something. But no, I bought myself a couple like $7, $5 rings. And I'm like, well, the trip was for me. Me spending money on myself was for me. But it really was wonderful. And I had a great time. And I mean, there were like so many other things that happened. I'll put them in the bio. But at the end of the day, you're not going to do something if you don't do it. And I would say if you want to travel, now's the time. If you have an opportunity, do it. I can't believe how much lodging cost, how expensive things are. And I was able to go on this trip because of, my cousin's points. And so I think that was like a really big deal for me. So yeah, I mean, when you have an opportunity to go, do it, have it, enjoy your life. I'm going to end it right here. I'm in a complete standstill in what I would call the desert, and there is some sort of crash. And my hour and 20-minute commute probably just went up to close to 2 hours. So I'm going to go. I'm going to try to figure out what's the deals with this eBay thing. I feel like I'm already back to being like overstimulated, and I'm like, take care of all the things. But I will be playing Kama in my head. It's been in my head ever since I visited the island of, Isla Mujeres, which is a beautiful beach. I do recommend you check it out. It is kind of like Castaway Key or whatever it's called. It's like the Disney island. It is very much like all these boats from all over the world, and all the tourists get dumped into this one spot, and you're all admiring this beautiful turquoise water and this beautiful sand and water that was not cold at all, and just enjoy a good swim. So I'm going to be in my head right now picturing that, and I will catch you guys next week. Thank you for bearing through my cold. I hope you got something from this episode today. Also, maybe don't be so mad at yourself. I thought I had to travel. And that I was missing something in my life. And yesterday, my dude's like, why are you happy to just be home and be with your cat and be in your condo? He's like, you do that every night. I said, yeah. And I love it. I think I judged myself a lot for the type of attitude in America. You need to constantly be moving, constantly be productive. Why don't you add 2 more businesses to your taxes? Why don't you just create all these things? And nah, I don't have to do any of that. I can just live and laugh with my loved ones, give them some love, and say thank you for being in my life. And that, to me, I can take with me, and I don't need to be on a plane for that. I do look forward to when I can travel again, but I feel quite content right now. I'll just say that. I feel quite content. Also, I need to stop ripping on America so much, because I learned when I was in Mexico, this place that I kind of idolized as far as culture goes. I will admit, it's kind of like every country's the same. And in every country, you're going to find the cheaters, the liars, the people that want to take advantage and manipulate a situation. And then there's going to be the people that genuinely want to care and be a good person. And God, I fucking love those people. We need more of those people. But you know what? We don't have to worry about them not going anywhere. Because at the end of the day, a good person, they want to be a good person. You're choosing to be a good person every day in your life when you walk through your life. And you either want to do that or you don't. And if you think it's hard and tedious work and you don't want to do it, then don't do it. But anyways, I'm going to end it right here. I love you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day, wherever you are, day and night. Thank you for going on this journey with me, and I'll catch you next week. Take care. P.S. One more thing. This is really silly to say, but I forgot to mention I went in the cenotes, which are basically, okay, wait, I have to talk about the cenotes real quick. So you look up one cenote, and it's all over Instagram, it's all over TikTok, and then you get there, and I'm like, oh, look, it's like someone photoshopped 100 people out of the pool, and this is the funny thing about real life, you guys. And then those beautiful vines that are dripping down into this water, and this beautiful manicured plants that were eloquently just like, no, it was all manicured. It was all man-made. I mean, the actual water itself, it was a cenote is a hole in the ground with some water. And they really embellished it and made it really fancy. And made their like Pinterest, Instagram-y kind of post to it. And I just thought it was funny. I get there and I'm like, I'm paying $35 to swim in a watering hole with a bunch of like random people. And they're asking us not to pee or defecate in this plunge. And it's just funny to me, because I'm like, everybody wanted to go because the pictures are so beautiful. And then I'm like, wow, Instagram did it again, because it wasn't real. It was a totally different type of environment. So then the cenotes closed at around like 5 p.m. because of, it gets dark. And at that point, it becomes a liability. And I was tripping out because my cousins, I was like, I don't understand. I'm like, you're telling me that these locals are paying $35 to swim in a watering hole? And they're like, no, Evelyn, like that's what they charge you for. You're a tourist. No, they're probably paying a couple bucks to get into this. I said, what? America doesn't go around profiling you to see how much more they're going to charge you at these amusement parks? Apparently, some of the national parks are going to start doing that. They're going to pay an extra fee for tours. But I absolutely was tripping balls. I was like, no wonder why things were so expensive everywhere I went. And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, why does everyone say that, Mexico has a bad economy if they're also paying $35 for a watering hole? But no, you're just basically a walking dollar sign, and they go around and inflate a different price that you have to pay. And then if you are a Mexican citizen, you show your ID and, oh, here's the other special rate for you. I was like, Jesus Christ, it's not that convoluted in America. That's crazy. That's crazy. It's not like Disneyland's like, oh, for the residents, you pay $100, but for you foreigners that took a plane ride, it's going to be $150. Like, what the fuck? That's crazy if they were to start doing that. Anyways, we go to the second cenote right before they close, and I had a much better time. It was more authentic. It was in a cave. There were stalactites and stalagmites. One of them fallen, not fallen. I said they would fall. My cousin's like, they're not going to fall on you. They're 2,000 years old. I was like, why would one of these very sharp rocks not fall on us? It is definitely possible. He's like, no, that would never happen. Anyways, there was literally a sign that essentially said, if you're going to be an influencer or an Instagrammer or a TikToker and you need to hog up all of the time for taking pictures and your vanity, please, we suggest that you book this cenote privately so you can have a longer photo shoot. I mean, that's not what the sign said, but that's essentially what it said. And I thought it was funny to me that social media and influencers that people love to praise and will give them that like and give them that click and give them that, that follow. God, I hate social media. That they literally had to create this sign for influencers to tell them, hey, if you're going to hog, the photo opportunities, please play a little bit more and reserve it privately so that, we don't have to deal with your vanity. I mean, honestly, that kind of stuff makes my day when I see signs like that. That made me really happy. But yeah, I got some pretty cool pictures in the cenotes and a little bit about life that I appreciate. We were wearing life vests, and I was very sick at this point because I had a fever, I had a cold, I wasn't sleeping a lot, I wasn't resting a lot because I was on vacation just trying to power through. But I was in very cold water, so my body that was sick, my nervous system was having it was kind of a shock to my nervous system. And that's when my body wanted to hawk up a bunch of loogies and cough, and I just felt awful that I was like this sick girl in this cenote, and I was wearing this life vest, right? I was wearing this life vest, and I found out that it was so buoyant that if I held myself and cradled myself a certain way, and I just let the water flow and I let the water take me, that I could do 360 turns, and the water that was still, because of the life vest, would keep spinning me around and around. And so I'd go, whoa, whoa. And I went on like a little mini roller coaster ride in my head. My family just thought that was funny. They were making fun of me because it was all about the cheap entertainment for me. But I was just a girl wearing a life jacket, doing these turns in the pool and letting the water and life literally flow through me. And I was just accepting every part of it. And I think those little memories for me is what did it for me. Everywhere you go, you're going to see people that want to make a buck from you or take advantage of you or hurt you. But there is absolutely just as many people, when you look for it, when you try yourself, and you will see the people that want those little moments of laugh, that want the breaks from work just like you. And you do totally deserve to live life, whatever that looks like for you. If you want to live life and stay at home and never go out and you're happy doing it, happy fucking days. If you want to go out and see the world and you're never home and you don't have, much of a circle because you're always out and about, cool, happy days. It really doesn't matter. And so whatever life you choose, I hope you make it a good one. And I'm happy for you to do so. All right, take care, you guys.
All right, it's your turn. Let's do this. I know how to love, 'cause in my dreams I was taught by you. I know how to love, 'cause in my dreams I was taught by you. Spend a little time with me, and maybe you will see, just temporarily fall